Hey everybody, it's the Goose with the Cryptic Paranormal Show. And as usual, my illustrious co-host is right next to me there. Mr. Heisenberg sitting right there next to me. What's up, buddy? How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Hanging in there with this COVID junk going around?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah.
Justin. Thanks, buddy. And down there we have Mr. Adam Wcislek, our very special guest this week. Thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Man, it's great to be here. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to talk to you tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Just safe to say, Adam's the guy who wears many hats. I did share your bio you shared with me on the promotion for the show tonight, and a lot of good stuff, a lot of cool stuff, man. I can't wait to dig in and find out who Adam Wcislek is. But how are you doing? Faring so well with this virus pandemic?
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, it was, I have a normal day job like a lot of guys and stuff, and so this hasn't been a thing where I can doing the mediumship and everything. I haven't been able to kind of go full time with it, but. Sure. So the day job, I mean, I live in Ohio, but I drive up to Michigan for work. And the crazy thing is it's obviously they're shut down just as much as Ohio's shut down. But,
sure,
yeah. But the hard part is, they took the opportunity because like this is week 4 that I've been home. So they've been hammering us with training and stuff, which is like cool because we're so busy because my actual field job, which is always fun for a lot of us in the paranormal world, is I do conference room audio visual support. So video conferencing, audio conferencing, projectors. I'm in there with a lot of the AV gear and things, so makes sense. But they've now had the opportunity to get all this training that they've been wanting for years. So now it's like, but then they're like putting ridiculous. Okay, well you got to have this done by tomorrow. I'm like.
Oh, geez.
I can't remember anything in a day. So,
right.
But yeah, so I mean, other than that, they, now this week they kind of forced us finally to use 4 vacation days.
Oh, okay.
Which kind of sucks, but at the same time, obviously I work for a company that we're then contracted over to where we're at, and so they wanted to try to start saving some money. And it's just one of those things. So now this week I've been on there. So tomorrow and Monday I get holiday pay. So I don't have any more vacation stuff. So,
that sucks.
but yeah, it's intense, man. I'll tell you, for and real quick, for us that are mediums and especially that we're empathic and stuff. This week's been rough on me. I before with the training, it was just trying to make sure we get it done. So I had anxiety over that. But then now this week. I'm just doing homework with my kids and things. So, I mean, there's no pressure, but God, last few days I've just been having a hard time dealing with things, and it's like I feel zoned out, and and I start to get like a symptom, like of the COVID stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, is this it? I'm thinking, where the hell have I been? But I'm like, I haven't done much. I mean, I've gone out to the grocery store, but then I'm like cleaning my hands like crazy and stuff. So, but it's been a weird one this week.
It has. I mean, I've kind of with you. I felt that weird, that just weird energy, like, and I don't know if it's like psychosomatic or what, but like you said, there's been a couple mornings where I woke up, like I have allergies, and I wake up like this every morning, just like clogged in the head, my head's throbbing, I got like chest rattle because all that stuff settled in me all night. But I'm thinking, oh my God, I got the virus. I'm that's it.
Yeah.
But even like I haven't been out. Luckily for me, I was telling Mike earlier before you came on. I have the option of working from home. They don't prefer it, but they're giving me a little extra leeway because I have kids at home. They're stuck at home. I got to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do with schooling and all that. And my wife's in healthcare, so she's definitely on the top level essential. So she's out there. She's a speech therapist, still going into people's homes.
Wow.
So, I think another thing is they're kind of thinking, let him stay at home. His wife's in healthcare. Just let him, not bring in anything that she might be.
That's awesome.
Exposed to. So it's
they keep sending me to work.
Yeah. And I
My
know
wife's at work too.
Right. I know, like Kate. Boss lady Kate, she's she's almost on the front lines with this thing, isn't she?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. So God bless you, Kate. We love you. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks.
But yeah, it's been crazy. And like I said, I felt the energy. Like I'll go out. I haven't been out maybe 3 or 4 times, but we went out last night. I didn't even go in the store. We got like curbside pickup at Lowe's. I bought a new grill last night. I'm like, I had to get a grill. And they were on sale. So I'm like, you know what, let's do it. They have curbside pickup, but they're so busy, you end up having to go into the store anyways because nobody's answering the phone.
Yep.
So I'm like, Kim's like, I'll do it. I'll go in. Just wait for me. So she was the hero again. But
I went into Lowe's over the weekend myself because I was opening blinds, because we had hell of a great weather, this past weekend. There were high 60s, low 70s and stuff. And so I'm opening one of the blinds, and somehow when I twisted the rod, the things just snapped and everything went falling down. I'm like,
oh no.
Well, I guess I have a project to do today.
Right. Right. It's just been weird, man. And like our brother Justin Brown said he felt the same. He did a live stream and he felt super anxiety. Like there's just such a weird energy with this whole thing.
It is. I mean, you think about it. I mean, it's one thing when we go and all the investigations that we all do and things like that, it's sometimes it's always isolated to that one area, that one location, but then not like this. I mean, this is huge. I mean, this is worldwide. I mean, this is unprecedented, anything we've ever known. So it's not surprising because a lot of my other medium friends and things are all going through similar weird moments and anxiety and issues that are coming up that, gosh, you've been home for weeks. How the heck are you even getting something legit, like a cold or something,
Yeah.
But crazy.
Real quick, just wanted to say hello to a couple of people following us right now. I got Ron Abels, our Uncle Guido, Tony Santori, Justin Brown, Sunshine, Andrea, Mama Roof. We love you. Zarina, our sister, one of our RU Media sisters. Love you. Eddie Pence, hello, brother. Justin Brown said he's eating Chex Mix. Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I always like to share the funny ones. I always like to put up the comments that probably weren't meant to be up. Just be careful what you say. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
So, what part of Ohio are you from?
I'm basically just south of Toledo.
Okay.
So, yep, I'm just in a suburb of it, so not too far.
Yeah, Mike's a Northwest Ohio boy too.
Yeah, really? I grew up in Port Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not too far down from where from Toledo.
Yeah. So you actually live in Toledo, but how far do you drive into Michigan for work?
So the drive to work is about an hour on the nose. Sometimes a little bit more with traffic and things, but about an hour. So I drive up from up to Dearborn. So that's another suburb of Detroit. So but yeah, it's an hour there, and it's the cool thing is my brother works. We work in the same department, so we actually carpool. So
that's nice. It's
kind of nice because then one guy will get 3 days, and then the other one will get 2 days, and then we rotate the next week, and then the other guy will get the 3 and get the 2. And so the days that you're not driving, you're either sleeping on the way up or you're sleeping on the way home, and an hour's not bad.
Right.
But we work so early. I mean, we're on the road at 4:30 because we usually get there about 20 to 6 because we start at 6.
Oh wow.
So yeah, my nights are pretty rough sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know you said when I first told you the time, like I could do it because I've been working from home or I've been staying home, but normally I'd have to like cut it off at like 9 o'clock. But that's what I appreciate, and we completely understand that would have been fine too.
Yep.
But hey, we got somebody from across the pond. We got somebody coming in from the UK.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
It's entering the unknown paranormal. Hello, Adam, my friend. Gotcha.
University of Kentucky.
There's been some cool guys over there. There's one guy, and it's probably Dave that's probably checking in. So Dave's pretty cool. Cool. I'd love to get over there. One of these years I'm going to get over there and go hang out with some of these guys. I mean, I've seen some of their stuff. They got, even they do series on like Amazon and stuff. So they've gotten some cool places, and I'd love to investigate with them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, through Facebook, I've met a lot of people from all around the world that are just amazing in what they do, and I love watching their posts and videos and stuff. So, entering the unknown paranormal. Hello, thank you for watching the show tonight. Real quick, just a quick throw out promotion for the show. Then we're going to get into we're going to dive into the rabbit hole with Adam here. If you're watching on Facebook, please reminder to everybody, you can also catch us on YouTube. We are live on YouTube every Thursday from 8 to 10 on the RU Media Network page there. So if you're ever out and about and you want to just throw it on YouTube, do so. I don't know if we have anybody chiming in from YouTube, but usually we get one or two. Kids? What's that?
Are we on YouTube, kids?
No, probably. I hope not. My gosh. I dropped the F-bomb a little bit too much for YouTube kids.
They're used to it.
Oh, wow, we got all kinds of people in the comment room. Thank you. Hello, Leanne.
It was Dave.
What's
cool.
that?
It was Dave.
It was Dave.
Good.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Got our brother Sean Gilmore. He's actually our teammate from Dark Alley. Awesome.
Dark Alley Paranormal, Northeast Ohio.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it, Adam. Everybody, we have on the show. We like to get into your origin story.
Yeah.
Just like every good comic book, there's an origin story. Every hero has one.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, how did this all start for you? I mean, I know we were talking, and the medium empath part didn't come in much later, which I find very interesting.
Yep.
And we'll get into that. But how did this all, the paranormal, just in general, start for you?
So, I mean, as a kid and things, very normal life. Grew up in a religious household, and just nothing strange. It wasn't till So I was, I mean, the white beard will, definitely give away, but I'm only 43, so I'm not.
I'm there with you, man. I'm there with you.
But I mean, I'm still in I'm getting up there. So, but so I mean, the 80s was, a common, time of especially my younger years, and I remember, I'll never forget a lot of the early documentaries on paranormal and stuff like that. I mean, obviously they were crude and things, but they were, it was fascinating. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool, to go to a haunted place. But, in all those years as a kid, nothing ever came up. But the first time something strange ever happened to me was in 87. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, was passed away from colon cancer. And we knew, we were, preparing for it for a while, but the night before it happened, I remember, my parents got a call and they said, things aren't looking good. Yeah. So they go over to the house because he was at home, because he wanted to die at home if it was going to be that way. And so they went, and my younger brother and I had a babysitter that was watching us. So we were, just chilling out, and I went to bed, and so when I fell asleep, I had this dream, and this dream literally showed everything that was going to happen the very next morning. So wow. I saw how my parents coming, because we were getting ready for school the next day, because it was just before summer break. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget. We were getting up and getting ready, and I saw, my mom was coming through the door. I saw how my dad was holding the door. I knew what they were, I knew all the words. I knew where everybody else was. I knew where my brother was, the babysitter. I knew where everybody was positioned. And then, my mom's she's bawling and she can't get it out. And my dad says the line, your grandfather passed. And it's like, and I'm sitting there, one, I'm in shock, obviously, but then my brain's going, you just woke up 30 minutes ago out of this dream that everything just happened just now. So I was tossed, and it was, sad, but it was weird because I couldn't cry right away, because it was just that thought of how did that happen? Nothing strange has ever happened in our family and things like that. Yeah. So I was blown away, but as the years went on, it happened, a few more times, some of the other grandparents that passed away, same thing the day before, and all this stuff pops up and I can see it from top to bottom, and all the tones in people's voices. And I'm not telling anybody about it, because, late 80s and now, 90s and stuff, that still was pretty taboo.
Sure. Yeah.
And, finally, jump forward, I, graduated high school and go to college and then, started working. And obviously right at that point was, we're getting into 2000 stuff and we're starting to see the ghost hunters show up on TV and things. And so it's like, my gosh, I remember the documentaries as a kid. So I, fell in love with that stuff because it's like, I would love to get into that, so watched it for years and years and years and, got married. And then my wife and I love this because there's always like, where the hell are you going with this? But
we're on for the ride, man.
Oh, this is where everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, weird. But, a kid, I love being outdoors. So I remembered as a kid, doing the Boy Scout thing, and camping and stuff like that. Well, at the same time of all the ghost shows, you remember the show Survivor, the game show.
Yeah.
Well, that brought me back to my childhood. I'm like, man, that would be so cool. Cause I remember, you got to have stuff and be prepared and all that. Well, I'm like, well, what happens if you don't have anything? So I ended up looking at survival classes, in schools.
Yeah.
And don't worry, this ties in. So I found this school out of Cleveland and I'm like, sweet. And I'm like, it's called Midwest Native Skills Institute.
Oh, cool.
And I'm still real good friends with them. They put out, they do weekend classes, week-long classes. So my wife and I signed up for a week-long survival class. So it was all the basics. So whether you have something on you or you don't have anything, how do you survive, And it could be in any situation. It doesn't have to be out in the woods. But when I was researching the class and then we decided to do it, he had a couple courses in there that made me raise an eyebrow because I'm like, well, how does this relate to all the survival stuff? And the courses were called Shamanic Journeys.
Oh, wow.
So I read the title, which was a little vague, but they talked about how you can connect with your spirit guides and ask them for help in whatever situations that you're in, or ask them to help heal you. Like, let's say you're not feeling well and you need something to help. And I'm like, all these light bulbs are going off going, this really sounds pretty damn cool.
That is pretty cool.
So sure enough, I mean, my wife and I go to the class and it was midweek because I waited till we really got to know, got familiar and finally I brought it up during a break and I'm just like, so what's this thing with the shamanic journeys? He kind of gives me this, grin like, so so we start talking about it and I'm like, I'm into it. So he talked about a book called Awakening the Spirits by Tom Brown Jr. And it basically, kind of goes through where you learn sort of a shamanic way of life that was passed down from the Lipton Apaches. So it was native based. And I fell in love with this. So I took that class. I took Shamanic 2. And I just, for 7 years, that's all I would do is just talk to my guides every single day. And all these weird things would happen. And, I really got great with meditation. I got good with, quieting the mind, which is huge for mediumship.
Oh, sure.
Now, as that was happening, again, the ghost shows were on, I started seeing mediums pop up. And I'm like, well, if I'm talking to my own guides, how hard is it to talk to, say, some spirit, some ghost that's in a location, or to talk to somebody's, relative that's standing behind them? And so I started talking and looking around for teams and things like that. And so sure enough, my dad of all people was playing, we're musicians, and he was actually, doing German style ethnic, music. And he was playing at the Old Mill Museum in Dundee.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And he sees these little flyers saying ghost investigations.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, I'll never forget it. The next day, so that was a Saturday night, Sunday morning, he's calling me up.
Yeah.
Dude, we got to do this. We've been talking about it. We got to go.
That's awesome.
So we put, people together, and I had coworkers and stuff. So then, but while we signed up to go investigate the mill, which was in 2012, I got in touch with Tim, which and Tim Rian, and we just hit it off. And then I kept telling him about a lot of the weird things that I've been, doing and stuff like that. And he goes, well, we got a medium on our team. I said, really? And he goes, well, I can introduce you to her. You can, these are the type of questions that she can answer, not me. Yeah. So I ended up talking to her, and she said, if you're really serious about this, because I said, I'd love to be able to go down that path. Uh-huh. And she goes, if you are, well, one, be sure, because once you open that door, it can be pretty difficult to close again.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And so that's what I did. She ended up taking me under her wing, and we started working. I started cracking that door open, and then I worked with some other ones, and basically then the mediumship just started flowing. So it's weird because, you know, like I said, it's odd to go from where I was doing outdoor survival to then, you know, learning how to communicate with my own guides. And then here it is now, I'm, you know, doing paranormal investigations and doing readings and going to holistic fairs and things like that.
That's awesome.
So
yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Real quick. Our friends from the UK entering the unknown paranormal, I believe his name was Dave.
Dave, yep.
He asked a quick question. Hopefully he's still listening. Sorry, Dave, it took a minute, but I wanted Adam to get his story out, which was amazing. Quick question, guys. Your thoughts on going out and investigating while there's a worldwide pandemic going on? I've suspended all my teams investigating, but others are still going out. So,
well, well, for us, I mean, for the team I'm on, SWPI or SWIPI, or SWIPI for short, but Spirit World Paranormal Investigations. Yeah, we're not doing anything. We can't go anywhere. You know, the old mill is shut down. We can't get in there. The only thing for me personally is that I still am working cases because I use another technique that I learned in the Shamanic Journeys class, which was remote viewing, or some like to refer to as astral projection. So even like last night, I was working with a case, checking to see if somebody had an attachment and things like that from another, thing. So I'm still active as much as I can be. I mean, now if I'm having anxiety and stuff like that, I won't mess with it. If I'm not 100%, there's no point in it. But yeah, not going anywhere. I mean, we all want to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but so at least I can do the remote work.
Yeah. That's nice. I myself, I know there's people still going out and doing it. I think it's crazy. I think we all need to be practicing social distancing and self-quarantining when we can. We had one scheduled for a couple weekends ago. I was bummed about, but I mean, it's not safe.
Yep.
And Nurse Kate shut it down.
Yeah, our nurse boss lady Kate shut it down. She said no. No, I mean we were probably going to lean that way anyways, but I wasn't going to say anything though until everybody else said something. But I mean it sucks, and there's definitely a withdrawal, but there's so many other avenues. I mean, you have your remote viewing and casework you can do. There's plenty of books, plenty of entertainment. We got the show, so we get to do that, and we at least get to sit and talk and share our stories and views on the paranormal. So.
And that's the cool thing is with the shows. I mean, like what you guys do, and I mean, I have a show that I do on Monday nights, and then I do stuff on my personal page and stuff. But it's like now we're able to sort of really branch out a little bit more and really talk to people. I mean, because obviously there's a lot of you guys that your listeners and stuff have never heard of me, and like who's this guy and stuff. And so and I get that, and I've seen the same. I've watched some other shows and stuff, and I'm like, don't know who they are, but I'm kind of curious to see what they're all about. You never know who you might run into or see them down the road, or might need their service for something.
Actually, I want to bring up too, Justin made a good point. On April 5th, a fellow paranormal investigator passed away with COVID-19. And honestly, Justin, I'll tell you, I mean, I never met the guy. I've seen him. I was friends with him online. He seemed like a real, just a wonderful, genuine man. I didn't know him personally, but knowing somebody who knows somebody who's in the community that's passed away, that's what it makes it super real. And I have a work friend. A close family friend of hers passed away with COVID, and it's affecting people that are close to us. Maybe not in the first degree, but a friend of a friend, and then it just gets really real, and it's a scary thing. So if you guys are out there investigating in this, please stop. Just please stop. I mean, we'll
get back at it.
There's plenty of time. We're already seeing the start a downward curve, at least in Ohio, because we're all doing the right thing. Unfortunately, our brothers and sisters in New York and New Orleans and the bigger cities are having a much harder time. But all we could do is pray for them and just send our love and healing for them. But and I wanted to go back to the Native American gathering subject.
Yep.
A viewer of ours, Jess, we love her to death. She said there's this thing in Indiana where you can meet with a Native American and he will place you in the woods somewhere alone, and you are there for 72 hours and you work with your guides there.
That's cool.
So is that like, it sounds like a, what they call it, a dream quest or something like that? Or,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is you gotta I mean, 72 hours isn't bad. It actually can go longer depending, because some people that, you know, and let's just say, I'll pick on you, Goose, just for the fun of it.
Sure.
we stick you out in the woods, you know, you're going to be sitting there thinking about, oh, I got to do this, or I got to get, you know, I got to get shelter, I got to get food and things. And your mind is completely not even focused on what the true task is opening up and receiving those messages that come to you. Yeah. But that is really cool. I mean, I've always thought about that, and I've tried to get into situations to be in to where I was isolated, because you're not allowed to talk to anybody. You're allowed to have a meeting spot to where you go at a specific time of day to like get resupplies, because that way you have some control to where you're not in misery. Yeah. Like refill a water jug or give you, you know, a couple things of, you know, Mountain House meals or something that you can still make and things. But
well, that's good, because I mean that to me is a scary situation.
I would die out there.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with an outdoorsy family. I mean, I know how to at least survive a couple days. But you're right. Like my mind would be like shelter, fire, water. The first three things I got to get going. Yep. Not thinking about anything deeper than that. And, but I can imagine once you're settled and, you know, but it's nice that you have that kind of that light resupply. Yeah. Because it's not such a forethought. It's not such a burden. And it kind of lets you, I guess, open up to what the true mission is.
And that's what's, I mean, like I said, that's what's good, is you can have that sort of backing, because, you know, that way if some emergency truly happens, you know, you're not completely lost in the woods, and somebody knows exactly where you are. So if they really had to, rescue you, you know, you're talking, you know, a minutes or, you know, or an hour or so versus days, or, you know, people searching for you. So, yeah. And don't get me wrong, there's probably, you know, some people that do this where it's like they literally send you loose, and, you know, and they don't give you anything. You got to carry everything in. But again, the point is, you're trying to make some of it easier for you to get those messages, to get those revelations, or however you want to word it for yourself. But it is enlightening. Let's just put it that way, because when you do open up and the nature talks to you, whew, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
3 hours. That's how long I would last. 3 hours.
I mean, I grew up a hunter, so I know what it feels like to have that kind of alone quiet time in the woods. And yes, you're preoccupied with listening, and, you know, you're alert to what everything, but you do eventually just, you kind of go into that state where you're deep thinking, and you're in your own mind all of a sudden. And it's a pretty cool feeling. And that's actually one of the reasons, like, I always try to find the positive in everything. And like, if I go hunting, or when I used to go hunting, and I don't come away with something, I know I had time to myself to reflect and just be away from everything. You know, just have that block.
Absolutely.
I would like to be away from everything, but nope, I would 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like trying to figure out how to get out of the woods.
I think I'd probably make it a week, probably, at least, but I don't know.
I used to sleep in the backseat of my car when we went camping.
Oh, geez. Come on, man. That's not camping.
Yeah.
That's a roadside exit. That's what that is.
Hey, I was fine with that.
Mr. Bradley, actually Michael's father of Heisenberg, says he loves the Black Swamp medium. Is that named after your area? What's the area called? Lots of Native American history there. Do you investigate the American history?
One question, Dad.
Okay. Or you want to go first, or should I answer that one?
No, go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, Goose, you hit me up, you know, earlier in the week, and you're like, how in the hell do you say your last name?
I know, it's like,
and when everybody looks at it, they just like they try it so many different ways. They try to hit certain letters, don't say certain letters. And so I'm like, okay, now if somebody's going to try to type and look for me, I thought I wanted to have something creative to the point that, one, it's where I am, it's where I live, and two, it just is easier for search. So yeah, my area where I live is just it was, among the Black Swamp, which, went all the way from like Cleveland and then just into Indiana.
Gotcha.
So it was just nice, dark strip that goes in there. So people look it up and things. But I did have in my actual city, which, I'll say it anyway because I'm a crossroads for highways, but I live in Perrysburg.
Okay.
And Perrysburg is right there with 23 that goes up into Michigan, or 75 that goes from the top of Michigan all the way to Florida. So, and I have the turnpike real close as well. So I got a lot of crossroads. But there's a fort in my city called Fort Meigs, and you can't investigate it legit. But if you go there during open hours, not right now, of course, not right now, but you could technically walk around and do stuff. But I have been in the fort, during open hours where there's, hundreds and hundreds of other people around checking things out. And so I've done my little, things on the side, but yes, we do have all kinds of Native American stuff over here. Up on 23, there was a famous battle that it is, and sometimes in some of the books, school books, and then other times it's not. But it was a part of the 1812 war. There was the Battle of Fallen Timbers, and that was huge because even like Tecumseh was one of the ones that fought there. He wasn't a leader during the battle, but he was one that fought there, because a lot of people do know of him. But Anthony Wayne was, one of the generals that was fighting there and things like that. I've gotten to walk those fields one time before mediumship. Now I wish I could go back again and walk the actual battlefield.
That'd be awesome.
But you can sense a lot of those things when you go to those areas. It's neat, and I'd love to just spend more time connecting locally. And unfortunately, a lot of these places, so many teams locally have tried to get into them and they just won't do it. And I get it, as much as we would love to investigate it legit, they can't, or they just won't open it up. So a lot of times, you kind of just go where it's open to public and see if you can get anything there.
Yeah, we went to Fort Meigs for a 4th grade field trip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If only you knew then, just sneak in a recorder with you,
right,
during the tour. I mean, honestly, during investigation, Mike has caught some amazing EVP just in the initial walk around with the lights on. Everybody's kind of talking. You're getting the lowdown on what the hot areas are. So I mean, that's
great.
Yeah, I've caught the best ones a lot of times on the tour. I mean, and it's hard when there's a big tour, but if you get one of those tours that are just like a couple people, you can discern who's who.
Right.
After listening for a little bit. But I've had some great ones.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've even actually I won't say that I have, but Mike, when we've gone into local libraries to do research in the historical area, Mike will take his voice recorder and just let it play. Who knows? You never know. I mean, there's some old books in there. You never know what might be attached or what you might learn, especially
I didn't catch anything, but it was worth a try.
Yeah. But yeah, no matter where we go, we always have a recorder. I mean,
that's perfect. Yeah. I mean, obviously you're not going to pull on an SLS or, a camera system of some sort, with lights and things walking around, but little K2 or a digital recorder. I mean, you could sneak some of those things around and nobody realize,
Yeah. I mean, and people have come to us with pictures they've taken just like during a historical walk around. Yeah. We talk about it all the time. There are people, this lady, we were at the Kent Paranormal weekend, and this lady brought this picture to me. Well, she brought it to Mike first, and they were orbs, and he's just like, "Oh, you got to go show those to Ray." So obviously,
I like to send all orbs people to Ray.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that the orbs
this was a real one,
but not all the spirits are orbs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he sent her to me, and I'm looking at it, and these are actually cell phone pics that were taken by different students. They're at the National Cemetery in Washington, D.C., correct? Is that where they were, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Arlington, yeah.
in Arlington Cemetery. So there's all these pictures sent to this teacher by different students of this little purple, like wispy looking light. It reminded me, and I always say this all the time. I don't know if I'm a big Disney nut. I love the Pixar movie Brave, about Merida and Scotland and everything. But she follows these little things called wisps, little purplish, like fiery, flamey looking spirits, and that's exactly what these look like. I've never seen anything like this before. It was, it was weird. If it was like during nighttime and it would,
in one camera.
Yeah, on one camera, but this was several different cell phones, different areas, like just on walkways, just in everywhere. I mean, it was just nuts. And it's crazy. I mean, you don't have to go to a haunted prison at night to do investigation. Sometimes you just walk into it and you don't even know you're doing it. It's awesome stuff.
I've been hearing stuff around here lately.
Yeah.
My cousin took his family, and this was last summer. They went to Eastern State, Penn.
Yeah,
and they were just doing a day tour stuff, and they were walking. They said a couple times they would stop and look in a cell or something like that, and all of a sudden, like they just get hit with a cold breeze would be right on top of them for a few seconds, and they would just be like, "Oh my god," And they've never investigated either because they watch the shows. But yeah, they were feeling this stuff, and they're just like, "Oh my god, that's so weird!" And then it would disappear and be gone, and they're just like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. You don't have to work hard to go on an investigation. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more sneaky, because But I think that's my phone. I apologize.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard the feedback.
I did hear something.
Still unprofessional, right?
There's ghosts all around me.
You're echoing the show.
Yeah.
Demons, then.
Let's see. Justin Brown says if he had learned one thing during his paranormal research, it's this: the paranormal finds you. You don't find the paranormal. I completely agree with that statement.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh yeah. There's a calling. I mean, it's weird if there's a calling. I mean, the old mill. When I first investigated it in 2012, it literally was this month, April of 2012. Yeah. And so it's another anniversary year for me. But I went from April to December. I went 5 times in total. That's how much I loved the place, and it just kept calling to me everything. Yeah. And the first time and the 4th time were the only times I was there with people. The other 3, I was by myself. I had nobody investigating with me. And granted, it's always nice to have somebody nearby, but there was other investigators just not next to me, Yeah. But it was neat to be able to sit by myself and, ask whatever questions I wanted to ask and not kind of like work off of others, especially since I was still brand new and I was still just doing the investigating things. Can you tell us your name?
That's awesome. Let's see. I'm just checking the comments real quick. If I miss your comment, there's a lot of people in the chat room. I'm digging this tonight. Thank you. Just making sure I'm not missing any questions. We're good. Okay. Oh. So back then, what was your first, during an investigation, what was your first, real, take home experience, like a game changer experience for you?
Well, in that very first time, again, we watch the shows and obviously we know, and even going in, we knew that, this obviously, you can take a little bit of what you see on the shows, but obviously it's not the real deal, So, we all had different, gears and cameras and recorders and things. And so we were all, all excited with our stuff. And we were down, the basement of the old mill is like one of the hot spots, for a lot of activity. And there's a couple resident spirits down there that I didn't know back then that I do now, but, you're trying to communicate and get them to come on camera, all that fun stuff. And we went for, good 30, 40, 50 some minutes, and they were like, okay, well, let's, take a quick break and then, go to a new place. Cause from the outside, the old mill doesn't look like it's very big, but once you get inside, you realize all the different places you can go. Yeah. And Goose. So, so my dad wanted to break away from us. So we wanted to go to a different place. And then my dad wanted to go back down in the basement because he was drawn or pulled to go back down there. So he asked any of the SWIPY members to go down with them. So they did. So they all go down there. We went up to like the third floor because, with the Native American stuff. I mean, I'm not Native American, but I'm really connected to them. So we went up to the third floor where there's a Native American setup, and which we didn't get a whole lot. But my dad, on the other hand, so they go back down there, and everybody's asking questions, and then all of a sudden, on one of the spirit boxes, it said battery drain, and right at that point, the actual founder of our team, Donna, her camera dies, like fresh batteries.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they were, and she's like, quick, we need a camera. My dad's like, oh, I got one. So he goes, okay. So he, pulls out his camera and he starts taking a photo, and he's like, and they're like, oh, no, take another one. Take more, because he's, again, doesn't know the routine. You got to take at least 3-4 pictures before you move. So he takes another one. Well, when he's looking down, he starts seeing up in the one upper right-hand corner of the photo, there's like this weird black misty cloud starting to come into frame.
Oh, wow.
And, he used, he said the S word, and he was like, anything, it's like my finger or something. Yeah. So they go, no, take another one. So he takes another one. Well, now it's halfway over. And it's like, what in the world? And you can't really see too well through it. It was really a dark mass cloud.
Oh, wow.
They said, they're screaming at him, take another one. So these are seconds going by, So he takes another one. Now at this point, it is literally all the way across from the camera view. And this was just a point and shoot camera, nothing special, digital point and shoot. The only thing you could see, and at the very far end, we have this, I call it a concrete slab. It's a raised concrete level. Well, the husband of Donna, Rich, was sitting there. You could see his feet, but you couldn't see anything up above because all this black cloud.
Oh, wow.
And they said, okay, take another one. They take one more, and then it's gone off. So it was literally going from right to left, and it was just this black mass that just and and so I'm awesome. Not there. I'm upstairs thinking, whatever. My dad, we get back into the break room, and he's like, you'll never believe what I caught. And he's like going through the photos, and I'm like, one, holy crap, that's awesome. Right. 2, why wasn't I there?
Yeah.
But it was cool to at least see that. And it's funny is he refuses to this day to delete that memory card. He's got that camera he carries with him everywhere. He will not delete that memory card because those photos are like gold to him.
Oh yeah, I don't blame him.
So he calls it. So in a way, it was like the holy grail of shots.
Yeah,
I mean, again, you think about it. Sometimes when we capture something, it's like you're lucky to get one picture out of it.
Oh,
got 3 of it with it moving through
in
seconds in between. Yeah. So it was just fun. And, and we got some great EVPs from there. So, I mean, that, those first things that you get, because like I had coworkers, and the very next week, we weren't as busy back then because I was still doing the same thing I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Listening. My one guy's, he's over at his desk. I'm in my desk, and we got our headphones on, and we're listening to stuff, and writing down, oh, this could be something. And finally, like, we hear something that's like class A, and we're like, oh, and then we go running over to each other. Check this out. Listen to this. So it's that, whole, excitement, you're capturing your first EVPs ever that, just those first ones, are, you never forget them. And then, but obviously, when I open up mediumship, and then there's investigations with the mediumship, that is like mind blowing stuff. So, but yeah, those first ones are always the ones that always stick out the most.
Yes.
Tom Klein says you all need to shave. Respirators won't work with those beards. Stay safe.
That's why we're staying in.
This is my respirator. I just fold it up.
That's right.
Filters everything out.
I could do that. Yeah.
You got a better one.
I answered the thing before. I was like, I'd rather die with a beard than go out with an unshaven face.
Yeah. Hey, our buddy Tim is on. What's up, bud?
Yep.
Love you, guy.
That's my boy. Glad he stopped by.
Definitely, we need a shout out for the Old Mill Museum. I was there a
2
couple years. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yep.
For the Old Mill Parafest,
which is in November.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes, I mean,
fingers crossed, man.
We're at the point where we're going to start, doing our finalization of speakers and stuff.
Yeah.
And right now we've kind of been on hold. So, but hopefully once we get back at it, we'll start being able to send contracts out and things like that.
Yeah. Dave Bradley is like, what is the old mill?
The old mill was actually from back in the late 1800s. I mean, it was a grist mill. I mean, it was the first thing it did. So they actually still have in a case out front, one of the grinding wheels that they would grind up the buckwheat and wheat and things. So, so it was just a part of a lot of, farming back then, because the river is right out front. So they used the river to help do the paddle that spun the wheel, the stone. And then eventually it kind of got ran down. It went abandoned. There's no documentation, but we're pretty sure that, like some bootlicking was done in there, and the city was getting sick of it. So they were going to tear it down. And then what they ended up doing was Henry Ford at the time was really big into natural resources of using whatever nature could provide to help. So he ended up buying the mill, renovating it, putting in a big electric generator that worked off of the water. So it powered the generator, which then powered the mill, which ended up being a plant. They manufactured welding tips. And those welding tips would go to the factories to do the final, welding everything together on the line.
Sure.
So that was kind of cool. And then, it passed and then it went to a couple more hands. And then eventually the last people that had it was called Wolverine Manufacturing. They did gaskets, paper gaskets for the oil filters, I believe. And they sold it to it's actually the Village of Dundee. They sold it to the Village for $1 as long as they promised to use it as a communal thing for everybody in the city.
Wow,
so
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely got its history, but and the weird thing is there's no documented deaths inside the premises, but outside in the river, and there's a dam there too. Outside there's been several drownings. So
you think there's a connection with the water then? Just
absolutely. Well,
some wandering spirits have a place to go. I mean,
well, like I always tell when we do the tour and stuff, I always say, well, water, as I always was taught, was their highway. Like, road highways are, ways of getting somewhere quickly. The water is. But even better is when Henry was doing, renovating the mill up, he needed stonework. Well, he ended up damming up the river. Down right in front of the mill is limestone.
Oh, wow.
He had Scottish masons drill it all up, and all this limestone's all over the mill.
Wow. Okay.
So you got water and you got limestone. Yeah. Woo!
Well, yeah, and plus, I mean, the mill itself is being used to generate electricity. So you got another thing. You got all that energy just being produced there. I mean, it's kind of a nice little recipe for paranormal energy and activity. I mean, unfortunately, the night I was there, I ended up having to leave a little bit early because I had got some bad news from my mom. But I was really looking forward to investigating. It sounded like everybody had a great time. No,
it's fun.
Yeah. Is that like
we talked about this before. Like there's people that like really worked hard in those factories, so there might be some residual left, or
absolutely
from doing that work.
Absolutely. Well, in Henry himself does occasionally show up.
I was going to ask that.
I have myself and some other mediums have had conversations with him. Now it's really, I mean, if I can catch him once a year, that's luck. But sometimes it's a couple years in between. But he will be in where the generator is, and it's weird is you'll just walk in there just to walk in, no reason, I wasn't even being pulled to it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, there's a guy standing there, and then he kind of looks over at I'm like, oh crap, that's Henry Ford right there. So how's it going? You start to have these conversations with them, but it kind of blows your mind because the funny part is the company I work for my day job, we're supplied to Ford Motor Company. So I actually, I work in a lot of their buildings, their headquarters and their, so it's amazing that there's other locations that are not for the public like Henry's last office.
Mm-hmm.
I can go and walk. I can't get into it, but I can walk up to the glass and look in there, which is cool. And I've talked to him. Like, he's shown up there one time when it was about 6 a.m. and I'm like standing there, nobody's in yet, and I'm just like, "Hey, Henry, are you in there?" You know, and he kind of like pops up out of the side and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, sweet," you know. And but so he does show up. It's just not on cue or not, you know, just really random. But so we do get him. And other people that when we've tried asking questions in the mill, there's been people that have been local, but we've never like truly had one that came out and said, "Hey, you know, I did work here." You know, we just haven't had that. So we've had people in the area, but not from the mill directly. But that doesn't mean that they won't still show back up at some point.
You know, it's very interesting, Ray, because remember, like, the heating house at Anadine was the most active.
Yeah.
We were working in there, and, you know, that big boiler that was in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had this, I can't remember the name of the company that built it, but actually, we used to do, give tours, ghost hunting tours, and do, like, private ghost hunts at a location in Barberton, Ohio, the Anadine Farm.
Okay.
Had a lot of history to it. The gentleman named O.C. Barber, Ohio Cleveland Barber, or Ohio Columbus Barber, which is kind of a funny name, but he actually purchased this massive farm. It was like 32 buildings. And if you like superimpose the farm over the city of Barberton today, it was basically the size of the city.
Wow.
And you know, throughout the years, a lot of the mansion, the Barber Mansion, unfortunately, was lost and torn down in some freaking land zoning permit fight between the owners and the city, and it was just a mess. We lost that, but there were still these beautiful barn buildings that were still like, it just like kind of mixed in throughout Barberton. And one of them was actually the heating house, which just had this big, huge, just like I can't even like begin to tell you how this big double boiler Stirling heating house. It was just crazy. But it was like the most active building. Of course, it was the one that we always had the hardest time getting into, because another like, it was owned by the Historical Society, but they were leasing it out to a developer, and he didn't want the Historical Society coming in whenever they wanted to, so he kept changing the keys, and there was just this. So we just ended up saying, "Screw it, we're not dealing with it." But we had some of the best, as far as the barns are concerned, the best EVPs. We would just stand there. You could hear, it almost sounded like the door, these big, huge hinged steel doors slamming shut. We'd be running it back into that room saying, who's screwing with us? Like, looking outside, making sure people aren't, you know, screwing with us. But it's just, some of these historical buildings are just amazing that we go into. And, you know, everybody's, you know, you always hear like on the shows, or we're going to this haunted jail, or we're going to this abandoned hospital. And, you know, those are fun and they're active, but there's a lot of like diamonds in the rough. Just locations that we work a lot with. I grew up in Shalersville, Ohio, out in Portage County. And I have access to the Historical Society there. I'm actually a member. Nice. So we get to, I have special permission to take the team in there, and we kind of do like investigation experiments. And I do a lot of like on the job training, like we call it, with some of the newer members. But I mean, I get the feeling you have that same kind of relationship with the old mill. I know Tim is there constantly working, and
yeah, because he's a part of the board. You know, he helps out a lot, you know, especially with a lot of the like technology, because, you know, a lot of the other members that are, you know, on the board are, you know, they're up there in age and things like that, and they're, you know, they're all fantastic, you know, to hang out and be with and stuff. So you know, we typically, as long as there's nothing scheduled, because what a lot of people don't realize is that there's actually two different, and I'm going to say this in a weird way. There's two different entities that run the mill.
Oh yeah, I already know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But they're the banquet hall and the basement side are run by basically a catering service, and then the museum side is run by a different group. So they have to get together, which is why there's a board meeting. So when there's events and things like that, they really have to make sure that this side's not, booked on something, and this, so it could be crazy because even on the museum side, there's a little smaller, and that's where you were, had your table and stuff. So that little buzz room is what they call it. That one can get booked out. So even then, but a lot of things, and if people are interested and ever want to, come out to the old mill, it has to be Friday nights. We can't do Saturdays just because of the fact that most of the time the other side, the hall and things are booked on Saturdays. So we just can't get in. Unless we have a big event like a Parafest, but
sure.
But yeah, I mean, we do. I mean, once we get rolling again, we were supposed to be doing a couple privates and investigations where teams are coming out, but we'll start getting some public ones posted and things like that. So
very cool.
Check out our haunted mill Facebook pages and stuff, and because like I said, it's fun, and a lot of times I tell people that maybe they've never investigated before. I've always said it's a great place to get going. There's nothing on the evil side or the, demonic side,
there we go. You dropped the D word, man.
So, you're going to get a taste of a little of everything. So, I mean, you're going to get EVPs, you're going to get disembodied voices, you're going to see shadow figures, you're going to get touched on the shoulder. Sometimes a lot of the people like myself and others, that have longer hair, there's a spirit in our basement that likes to grab your hair and pull it straight up. So you kind of, you kind of go up on your toes a little bit going, oh, okay, hello. There's another residential spirit that likes jewelry in the basement. So they'll take it, and we've actually witnessed jewelry starting to levitate.
No kidding.
So, and that's all it is. They're just into bling bling, as I like to, kind of modernize it a little bit, but they just like the little flashy stuff. So I always tell people, you got necklaces, whip them out. You never know. They might check it out. So, so it's, you get, like I said, you get a little of everything, and you really do. I mean, so, and obviously we can't ever guarantee it. I think there's like anybody that's ever hosted a location, but you're going to have fun. The history is amazing, just to hang out there. I mean, my thing is, if I get to hang out and I don't catch anything all night long, I still had a good time because I got to be in a place that, for hours, instead of just, 6-7 hours versus, a couple hours on a tour, you know what I mean? So it's neat because, like, I've been on battleships before, and those are a trip, so I mean, you just can't beat it.
Those seem like they'd be really hard to investigate.
Well, the one in particular that I go to every year, just because I make it a habit of it, because I love the team that host it and they support it, but it's up in Bay City, Michigan. So you're looking at the Mitten and things like that. They're kind of up in the little crease, They have a Vietnam era Navy destroyer called the USS Edson. Fantastic place. They do, private and public investigations. Sometimes they do events if they can get it scheduled enough. Like they actually are doing one that I signed up for that Chris Williams is coming back. So, I mean, she's been kind of away from the scene. She's coming back and she'll be on the ship that weekend and stuff. So that's like in July, I think it is. So, but awesome. The hard part about ships, is they're more narrow because they got to fit a lot of things in. Yeah. And you don't really have stairs. You have basically more of ladders.
Yeah.
Even if they're in a little bit of an angle, they're still pretty straight up. So getting from floor to floor, it can be a little bit of a trick. But gosh, when you get to some areas, man, you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah. So outside of the old mill, what would you think is probably the craziest location that you've been to?
God,
there's activity.
Yeah, man, that's
tough. It's always it's always tough because there's so many different kind of. It depends on what you mean by activity. It's
right. I mean, you obviously have favorites and things like that. I think the one that probably surprised me the most, and it's weird because I know certain people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, "What? You didn't say mine?" Okay, the one that I think that does stand out, and I've only been there once, and I can't wait to get back again, is St. Albans. That's in Bradford, Virginia. I was there one time, and every single place that we went, because it was an event, but it was a really small event. So we broke up into little, small, like 6-7 people, teams. But every single time we went to some place, we had activity the whole time. And yes, I mean, it was a massive place, and it had lots of things going on. Yeah. But I just didn't believe that every time we stopped somewhere, something was, equipment was going off, or you're listening back and you're getting an EVP, or you feeling things. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Because like I said, sometimes you're lucky to just get one thing all night. And here, this one is every place we went, somebody was getting something, or a bunch of us were. So that was probably the one that I think, stood out the most, just because of how intense it really was.
Sure. Have you, somebody asked a question. What's your favorite location in Ohio?
Gosh, it's funny.
So many.
Well, that, and I spend so much more time outside the state than I do inside it, which is odd. But, I mean, I've been to Mansfield once. I'd love to do that again, but I did that as a really big event, so it was really kind of a drag.
Yeah.
But, and even then, I think I'll probably be biased about that. I even though it's not open for investigating, but like I told you in the beginning, Fort Meigs, right here in my city, I wish we could investigate it more, because I was picking up on things. I was seeing moments happen during battles that, problem is, you can't truly confirm some of them. Like one, they, if you remember a lot of the, way back, when they did the forts and things, they had the post and things. And so what they would do is they'd have them up so that way you could look over the top of one, but still be kind of like, peeking through.
Sure.
And I remember I was walking by, and all of a sudden I got a jolt, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And I went back, and as soon as I felt the thing, I looked over, and I realized my head was looking through a gap, and realized that somebody got shot right through there, because I kept feeling this weird sensation in my head. But it was as soon as I stopped and turned, my head was looking through one of the openings. So yeah, that would probably be my favorite, even though it's not open to do it.
That would be a really cool place to investigate.
I mean, maybe one day we can wear them down. I mean, I think enough teams to keep doing it, and I would hope that at some point they will. I mean, and here's the odd thing is, in October, they do what's called a Garrison Ghost Walk. So a lot of the reenactors have little spots. Some are outside. Sometimes they're in some of the rooms and things like that, and they tell ghost stories. And a lot of those ghost stories involve them and what they've experienced when they do reenactments there. So,
I'm sure when they do the reenactments, that like really stirs it up a bit.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I mean, if you don't want to publicize it, but then bring somebody in and then just make them sign stuff that, you can't say anything publicly, but you could bring things in and validate, I mean, why not? Bring in the equipment, see if you can get recordings of stuff. Because a lot of those people are talking about stories, or they've seen something, but I think one day it'll happen. It's just going to take a while.
And there's a lot of just historical societies in general that are just so against the paranormal part. Right. And you can't blame them, because, I mean, you see some of the craziness of the shows of what they do on TV. And, people, there's just so many. Unfortunately, I think the bigger percentage of ghost hunters are respectable. Right. They are in this because they enjoy history. I mean, a lot of these places we go to are just like living history books. Right. There's just pages and chapters of different stories of these buildings, but there's still just the select few
that get the asses that ruin it.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, like for us, I mean, we've lucked out in certain aspects, being able to do like just kind of participate, or what's the word I'm looking for? Volunteer and do work like outside of the paranormal. Show up to historical society meetings, do what you can with their local events, and whatever jobs that they're doing around the society itself, and kind of work your way in. just, can I just bring my team in?
Yeah.
But I mean, with like for us, like with the Shalersville Historical Museum where we do a lot of work. For me, it was just a matter of asking, and I happened to like, everybody knew me from high school. It was kind of a weird situation because like the main group who is the Historical Society, not to age myself, but they're all people I went to high school with. So it's really cool. And they kind of see what I do and they're interested. They all have their own stories about the museum and they were interested for us to come in and see if we can like validate a lot of what they've experienced. And we were able to. And we actually were able to do a fundraiser for them using ghost hunting. And it was really cool. The situation, they brought in the very first cabin that was ever built in the Shalersville area. It was sitting in it was actually part of a bigger house. Like people added onto it throughout the years, and the house was falling. The whole house itself was falling into ruin. They knew that cabin was part of that house for the longest time. So when they decided that the house was beyond repair, they did remove the cabin part. And they picked it up and they moved it to where the museum is, and they have it sitting on the back lot. And when we first started ghost hunting there, it was just up on like trailer wheels, just sitting there. And they're like, we really need to raise some money so we can pour a foundation and fix this cabin up. And I'm not saying what we did was the reason they were able to save this cabin, but it helped.
Right.
We saved the cabin.
Yeah, we saved the cabin. I mean, I did the math like for how much we raised for like we had. Basically just like ghost hunting tours. We did like a paranormal lecture at the beginning. We presented evidence that we were able to capture throughout our investigation. And we kind of opened the floor to questions. And then we did like a small walkthrough. We had our friend Barb St. John, who's a very talented medium that we're friends with. And she like did like a psychic walkthrough. And we did a little bit of investigation where we could, which was hard because the house is small and there's like 20 people in each group. So
yeah,
we did two like I think like 3-hour sessions. Mm-hmm. So and we were able to raise like I think $500 to $600, that's a lot of cement, and they poured everything themselves. So it was really cool to be able to help, and I think through that they see what Mike, they want us to come back this year, God willing, everything. Everything.
Another event?
Yeah. So, yep.
That's awesome. No, and I think that's the other thing I think we do well. I mean, a lot of us because we do care so much, that, again, even for me, like when I go to some of the other places that teams host, it's like, I mean, yes, I like the team very much, but I also care about the location too. And I know that it takes a lot. And, not everybody goes to a lot of these places on a regular basis. So they're not having a constant, easy, a good steady flow of money, and so, that's the way we've always felt. I mean, we don't keep a single dime, from the money that we, when we do the investigations or, hosting them, everything goes right back to the mill. I mean, it's for them. I mean, if it can help them out and keep their doors open, all for it. And even then, because we've been there since they started in 2011, a year before I showed up, that it's really helped because they were in some dark times where it was hard to, keep the doors open because they just couldn't afford anything. And so they started opening it up and they started getting like that, a few $100, every, couple Fridays a month and stuff like that makes a huge difference, with bills and things. And so sure enough, they just started opening it up, and eventually like the old, the Parafest, that was like, hey, can we do this? And they were like, sure. Cause they've seen over the years that we were constantly bringing in things, and if it puts a few more dollars in their pocket, I mean, why not?
Right. I thought somebody had a question on my watch party, but it looks like we're good. So I want to talk a little bit more about the medium side of the things that you do.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of always am kind of confused about is when you say remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that something you do like over like a Skype avenue, or do you phone call, or is it kind of both, or like
none?
Neither. Okay. None. I gotcha.
So the easiest way to put it is to close your eyes, daydream that you're lifting up out of your body. And when you start getting out of your body, that you start looking around as you start floating above yourself, and you see like, oh, wow, there's my physical self sitting right there in that chair or that couch. And so you may, and again, that's just a simple way, I like a daydream. But even then, I even like to call it as just, I'm kind of ghost-like at that point. I'm a spiritual being. And what that allows me to do is to essentially float up out of, my home or wherever, if I'm using it, and then go to a location. So whether it's to, like, I've investigated that method, and I found amazing positive reasons to do it, because because I remembered when I did that in class, we were just doing it as, things like, you can try this, like get up out of here, go over out in the backyard, find something, and then come back to your body, get up, physically go out there and see if you saw what you saw. And then when you go out there and you see what you saw, now your mind's blown, going, how is that possible when I physically was still sitting inside? So you start questioning things, but at the same time, you're going, this is really cool. But when I started really getting in and started, being more of the main medium for the team, I thought, what is there a way that I can use this that'll benefit? Because at that time, several years ago, doesn't mean that I'm the first. I'm not saying that, but I just never heard about it. Nobody was talking about it. They talked about remote viewing and or astral projection. Yeah. But I never heard anybody using it for investigations. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, if we could get, and for me, I have to have written permission, from the homeowner or location. I have to have that, or else I won't do that. Because if I don't have permission, it's just like anything. I'm not going to walk into your home uninvited, because you're going to be pretty pissed off. If I walk through the door, you're going to be like, get out of my house. I didn't invite you in here, So I get that permission, and then I go and do what I need to do. So for investigations, it's neat because I can go in and I kind of make myself, and I can change forms too. Sure. So I make myself like a fly on the wall. So I kind of zip in. I can feel the energies of the location. So when I get this, I'm cold, by the way. So I don't know much about the location. Sure. I know the city and the street name, but not the house number. And that's important because I can cut down. So I can't like go and look, up and be like, oh, well, I saw this and stuff. So, but what I do is I want the city and the street name just to kind of speed it up quicker. I can still find it if you don't tell me anything, or, like what country. I'll find it, but it just takes a little bit longer because I'm searching for that energy that's kind of like a light that's like a searchlight. Yeah. And so I have to look for that. And sometimes it takes a while to find it. So that's why I cut corners, because I can do this in like 20 minutes. Okay. But, I've done things where, I can find out where they're hiding. And when I find out if there is spirits, if they're there, I can find out where they're hiding. So when we then go as a team and walk in there, we don't sit there and go room to room to room. I go, nope, he's over in this part of the house in this room, or in this closet. Let's go right there. We go in there, and it's amazing that all the gear lights up instantly. Oh, wow. And it just has been able to use that to cut corners, because then we can get those answers right away. Sure. Because, sometimes I think we all know that when we do residential, how many times do, the homeowners, they kind of hang out, you don't want them to be there, but they hang out and things like that. So we could be, you don't want to be there till 2, 3, 4 in the morning trying to get every single thing. So, but at the same time, the cool thing is not only does it help with the investigation, but we've also been able to find out if there really was something legit there. We did this one up in Michigan. I went into the house remotely, and the first thing I did when I walked through the door, well, in spiritual form, I just said, I wrote down in my notebook, I said, check EMF, big letters. And when I got done with the whole remote, I come home and I'm like, God, that just is so weird. So we get to the site, we're standing out front, and I'm with our couple team members, especially our home. I showed her my notebook. I said, you see this? Check EMF. And they're like, okay. I said, well, this is what it came up. Not even a minute or two into, once we walked through the front door, you started feeling the effects of high EMF.
Oh, wow.
We go into the kitchen, we sit down with the client, and we're talking. The client is in front of me, sitting down. Our founder, Don, and her husband are sitting across from him. I'm standing up. I start pulling out some of my gear. So I turn 2 different types of EMF gear on, and all of them, one of them, like a K2, pegging red. Another one, the numbers were going up into the hundreds. Yeah. And I'm like, what in the... And I'm like, I'm doing this thing at my, the team. I'm going, oh my God. I go over to the wall and I put the gear against the outside of the house, and it would zero out.
Yeah.
I come back in 2-3 inches and it would just be pegging.
Wow.
I'm like, this is so there was no paranormal. It was just all in their head. And once they got the electrical fixed out, they finally feel normal again, and there's no activity. But again, that's the whole point of the remote viewing, was that we can use it for multiple things. So if I can't make it, that's another great way, is I can still be a part of things. Right. I do cleanses that way for the homes. I can do attachment removals remotely. Sure. For people that truly have something. So I mean, I love it because it does help that I can still do some things when I can't make it because of timing wise. Sure.
That's really cool. I mean, I was completely off on what I thought it was.
Right. Yeah. I knew what it was just because I saw the comments when they were talking about it.
Yeah. I
am paying attention to that too. But
it's essentially it's like an out of body experience. I mean, that's really a lack of a better way of putting it. It's just you're going into a meditation that then you release yourself. You're taking your spiritual side of things out of your body, and it's and you can still be religious and still have that same effect. So it's there's no thing against it, but yeah, I just started using it and became so useful that it's like, why not? Why not continue to do it? And I don't go, and when I do these things, I don't go like opening up drawers and looking at stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm there for a reason. I'm either checking for activity, removing the activity, cleansing the home, or cleansing a client, so I'm not sitting there. I mean, yes, I will sometimes point out like something like, if I see something that stands out, like a mirror that has a certain type of border, didn't know it, never seen it, and then why do they see something like on there? So I mean, they're like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, that's because I saw it. I was there.
Does that drain you to do that?
Yeah, it depends on if I'm just going there to kind of take a peek at things. No. If I'm gonna do a removal of a nasty spirit, it can be, depending on how much they put up a fight. But one of my little things, and there's a few things I don't say out loud yet because I'm still working on some new techniques for it. But the whole idea of, like, when I say I'm a fly on the wall, I kind of use that to my advantage as a surprise, because it's amazing that when I go in there, I'm just this little speck, or if you really want to look at it, like a little orb. The other spirits, if there's more than one or just one, they don't see it. They don't even know you're there. And it's weird is that at a flick of a finger, I go full form, and then they're just like, and talk about a deer in headlights.
Ghost is like, where the hell did you come from?
And and it's funny, I can segue into this because of the remote viewing. If anybody's interested and you want somewhat of a laugh because of the reenacting. So last year they filmed me about a case that I worked. And it was several years before that, but they didn't want to do all the reenacting of where I was. It wasn't me, but yeah, there was this case in this one she was 12 at the time, and so she was really getting affected, and she was getting hit. I mean, physically hit, and big hand marks, were on this girl, and she wore glasses, and they were ripping them off. But they the show was called Paranormal Survivor, and it was season 5, episode 8. And so if anybody wants to try to look it up, but there's 2 segments, and we're in the first segment. But essentially, I mean, the bottom line was, the mom started seeing stuff, the kids started seeing stuff, and once the kids started getting attacked, it was like game on. So I did a remote in, found out who the spirit was, got his name dead on, like didn't know this, got it dead on. I reported it. Our founder went there, did an on-site investigation because I couldn't make it the next day. Sure enough, they researched it, found out that the guy I saw was actually murdered, because he was a cranky guy, murdered on the actual property. And the name stuck, like it was the exact same dude that I saw.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm like, even for me, it's still like mind blowing that, here it is, I'm doing all this weird stuff. But, so essentially what happened was I started working the case in the fall, and it took me 3 times because the owner wanted to, she wanted me to try to see if he would live in peace with them. So I would go there, have a little conversation with them face to face and be like, hey, chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can hang out, just don't mess with them. And sure enough, 2-3 weeks would go by and he wouldn't do anything. And then he would start doing little things, start scratching the walls or start poking people and affecting the girl.
Yeah.
And so it got more and more. And finally, he started, getting physical again. And then the second to last time I said, if I come back one more time, you are gone.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. I am removing you and you will never be allowed to come back again. And so sure enough, when he did it, the thing, I come flying in there. Now, this is the interesting part. I told you, I don't like to when I do the remote work, I don't like going into things.
Mm-hmm.
His favorite spot that he would, hang out was in the basement. So when I got into the house, I went flying through the floors, went right down in there, saw him, grabbed him. Okay, so this is now a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
Now, I let, for the first time, anger get just a little bit, in front of me. So I grab him and I literally take him and I start pushing him against the wall that he was close to because I didn't want him to run.
Yeah.
So, there was logic behind it other than me being pissed off, but I grabbed him. But in the middle of grabbing him in the shoulders and pushing him against the wall, we actually physically knocked over boxes because the homeowners, when I said I'm done, once I got him, I literally, took him out of the house and took him way far away and got rid of him. But when I said, okay, I'm all done, they're like, what the hell did you do? I'm like, and I'm like playing it off. I'm like, what do you mean? A bunch of boxes fell over in the basement. And I went, sorry. So they don't show that part in the episode, but I wish they would have because it was weird that I didn't think that was even possible that I could sit there and do things like that in that. I mean, how the hell do I know how to work as a ghost on that side? How do you open things or say things?
Right.
But that was a crazy wild case, and even then through this day, they actually just moved it because they couldn't afford the house anymore, but.
Yeah.
The house was clean up until the end of December with, no activity. So, he never came back. And, so it's one of those that was like, hell yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's a good story. I love it. So I'm kind of going back to your beginning. Just like in your own opinion, like as far as people with the gift in general, like for you, I guess in particular, do you think that something you were born with and didn't realize you had it until you had that experience? In the survival, or
I've thought of, that's weird is to think about it now because when I finally, and what was funny was in 2014, I finally made it public after, from 2012 to 2014, I worked hard at, opening that mediumship door. So in 2014, I kind of said I came out of the mediumship closet. Yeah. And that's when I felt comfortable where I could do readings or do investigations. And the information I was getting was pretty much, valid. But once my parents understood what the heck I was, because my dad now, my dad will still come out and investigate with me and things like that. And he's 70 some years old. So, he still loves it. Cool. But it was hard to even break that news that I can do this. And, it was tough at first for them to try. It's one thing to be an investigator, but to now talk to things that you can't technically see.
Yeah. Right.
So for me, it was interesting to, where did it come from? Because nobody knew in our family. Nobody's ever talked about it. Now, was it because it was taboo? Maybe. But my parents never had anything, my dad especially, but my mom said she's had some dreams that seemed like they were pretty real.
Yeah.
They weren't indications that she ever recognized, but but see, for me, like I said, I'm not Native American, but I've done one past life regression that has shown that I did have Native American in a previous life, at least one so far. I haven't gotten back through any more. So I always wondered why I was into Native American stuff. So I just kind of assumed that's what's kind of passed down. But then I, realized when I did DNA tests several years ago, and it proved that I didn't have Native American, which was fine.
Yeah.
But one thing that popped up, and I think, Goose, you'll remember this story when we first met each other at the mill. Because I noticed something that you were wearing around your neck at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, that's interesting, because I showed you my bracelet at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, and you were like, yeah, I actually have Scandinavian in me. Now, that was something that nobody in my family knew.
Yeah.
I'm mostly Polish with some German. And then we found this 3% of Scandinavian, which was like, what?
Yeah.
So I didn't think about it after I got that test. And then a couple years ago, I came across, some modern, but some music that had Viking influences and things like that. And I'm like, I don't know what it was. Listening to that music just sort of like opened something up in me.
Oh, yeah.
And then a light bulb went off going, oh my God, that DNA test had like 3%, which, isn't a whole lot, but maybe there's that, because they had, some spiritual practices and things like that. And I'm going, maybe that's where it comes from. So at this point in time, I kind of lean that way, at least from a bloodline aspect. Yeah. So
that's kind of the same journey I've been on. I have been interested in Asatru, paganism, Viking lore from, like middle school, high school days. Like, in English class, you always worked on, Greek or Roman mythology,
right?
And you had to do some kind of research project. Well, I always seemed to a way to like sneak into the whole Nordic mythology thing, or and I was doing papers on Thor, Odin.
Yep.
My teachers loved it; they thought it was great, and I never knew where that came from. It's just something that stuck with me. And then, and I hate bringing up shows and stuff, but I started watching Vikings on the History Channel. And I know that's like very, very loosely based on actuality. Like, I know the time frames are all way off, and like I know they use some like actual character names that were actual names in history, but really aren't the way they were portrayed on the show. But just the whole mythos behind it, and I've always felt a connection. And people close to me thought, "Look, you watch too much Vikings. You read too many Thor comic books when you were a kid, whatever." But I did the test.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah. And it's funny because I actually got into a little bit of a debate with my wife like a couple Thanksgivings ago. She's like, "Oh, they're always tall and real big and brooding," and I'm like, back in that time period, 5'7", which is what I am, was considered tall. That was considered a tall person. And I have broad shoulders. I'm a big dude, so, it's not too far off. And then I've like actually my mother-in-law, her mother bought me the DNA test, the ancestry DNA test. I took it. Lo and behold, when it came back, it was mostly, I think like the biggest percentage was Irish, English, which I already knew, Scottish, Welsh. And then right underneath that, but I think it was like around 10% was Scandinavian countries. And I'm like, yes, I told you, I knew there was something. But it was like that commercial where that guy takes his ancestry test and he waits outside by the mail with all his Viking gear on, and he finally gets it. His whole family has this big Nordic celebration. But it was just weird. Like, and you say you have no Native American blood, like technically, but I don't think it matters. you can be attracted to a certain spirituality, and God knows Native American is that there's so much spirituality involved with the Native American people. It's something that as we've evolved, we've actually de-evolved in spirituality sense. Correct. I think.
Yep.
And I think there's a big push right now, and that's why I kind of love where the paranormal journey is taking us right now, because there seems to be a rebirth of that spirituality and kind of using that in what we do. But
it really has, and I can't agree with you more. There truly has been an amazing, even when I finally started really going down that. Is that paranormal?
Get it together, Heisenberg.
I'm sorry.
Did you drop a message?
I'm looking up my DNA test.
I love that look. That old crap look is great. God dang, where was I going with that?
Enjoying the spiritual rebirth and seeing.
Yeah, because when I finally really started, in 2005, when I started the spiritual walk, so to speak, it was just starting to finally turn. I started, Facebook was really starting to, sure. Wasn't just there yet, but it was getting close because it was still a few more years away, but MySpace and stuff. But, I started connecting with other, true Native Americans that had the blood, but listening to them and their stories about spirituality and things from, their ancestors. And then, that's when like the Native American flute came into play, which is, the music side. I mean, I grew up playing music as it was, but like the Native American flute called to me because I was always into Native American culture. Sure. And, but hanging out with a lot of Native Americans, I just felt so at home with them and hanging out at powwows and other, type of similar type events. It was always beautiful. And just, I felt comfortable, being there. So, it's neat that has really blown up as it is. And there's so many more people that are asking questions. And I think I still want people to be open-minded. I sure. Don't get me wrong. I think, I'm still skeptical myself on everything. You have to
be, though. You have to be.
But, sometimes when you start proving things or to the point that you're like, well, it's definitely not something I can debunk, but I don't quite know why, but still it's pretty cool,
Right.
So, but I as long as people are open to it, whether you're religious or not, that's cool. Doesn't matter to me, I'll listen to you.
Right. Sure. I mean, and that's like, I always say there's always like, especially when you're in the paranormal investigation field, there's always got to be a healthy balance between belief, spiritualism, religion, and skepticism. It doesn't work if you're like too heavy-handed on one thing. Yep. It's got to be perfectly balanced. There's been a lot of talk in the chat about, now I know your story, you didn't really know you had the gift until you had your experience.
Right.
A lot of people think that was something that we're born with, that everybody has, going kind of into the sixth sense theory. It's something that just, maybe as we evolve, we weren't as in tune with. But I see a lot of people agreeing with it. It's something that everybody's born with, and you either choose to use it or, something happens. I know there's a lot of theories behind people with like autoimmune disease or higher sensitivities. Like yourself, you got into spiritualism with the Native American, survivalist stuff. And even myself, do you think everybody's born with that? And it just maybe some of us are late bloomers, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't heard the answer or known anybody to find the answer as to why does it start off with some, or very few, I should say.
Yeah.
And then what is it that, like for me, you kind of get that light bulb moment that's saying, we've always been here, join us, however you want to look at it. But, and it's interesting because even then, I think as a child, sometimes you don't understand it. And I think one interesting story was, when my son, who's my second child, still very, very tiny, And I remember changing his diaper. And at that point, I was doing the mediumship and things. And I remember, always hearing the stories that, the kids are so open. They're not shielded or, they're not blocked from everything that's, out there. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, I'm changing his diaper and head's moving around, he's whatever. But I remember him, he's looking, all of a sudden he and then starts watching something move. And I'm like, whoa, what was that? And it was so weird because he was just all happy and moving. And then he stopped, walked onto something and watched something float towards the ceiling. And I'm like, one, I keep my house under lock and key, from all the door only opens up when I'm doing a reading or, I'm leaving type of thing. So nothing's getting in and out. And I make sure that because I want my family safe. I don't want any of the things coming home with me. I go through extra great lengths to keep my family clear of that. But so at that point, I'm realizing if he sees that, I'm thinking, because then I started connecting. I'm like, okay, who is this? Because I want to make sure, I didn't miss something. But I looked at him and I realized it was one of his guys that was looking out for him. They were already right there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going, so now the wheels are turning. I'm going, okay, so there is a possibility, but I think as you raise your kids, you start to do the common thing. Well, you don't, there's no such thing as, imaginary friends. And you start putting those walls in place, because if you keep telling something over and over again, they believe it then. And I think that's what we've done to a lot of us, mm-hmm. You can only think this one way and that's it. And anything else is not true. And so I think there's been a lot of that where we've hidden it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always there. I think it's just easier for others to get it going. I can certainly, and I have had students over the years that have come and I've worked with them and got them going. It's not, I cannot say like Goose, if you want to start doing this, I can't say that by Sunday, you're going to be talking to spirits. I can't say that because I don't know how long it's going to take for you because your path is going to be different than how it was for me.
Sure.
So I spent 7 years talking to my own guys before I even thought about or even having the next path open up for mediumship. Mm-hmm. Now, it only took me 2 years to truly feel comfortable, even though I wasn't 100% there, but I felt more comfortable doing the mediumship after 2 years of working with other mediums, going on locations, doing private readings, practicing it, all the time to really do that. But that, was also my intention. I really wanted to do those things. I mean, it was like, you can tell, like, those of us that are married, it's like, I am marrying this girl, and that's it. You are set on that. And that's the thing is with mediumship, I had to make a choice. And I tell the people that want to go down this path, you got to be sure you know what you want to do. And you want to be, because once we open that door, it is difficult. Doesn't mean you can't close it, but it does mean there's a good chance that, you're going to possibly run into things and you have to be ready for that stuff.
Sure.
There's a lot of, everybody's gung ho, everybody wants to do it, but they don't realize, it's one thing to go into a location, get something to, scratch you and things like that. But now that you're sitting there seeing them and talking to them, that adds a whole nother element to it. So, I love what I do. I'm glad I went down this path. I'm glad it opened up to me to do it. But, it's going to be some internal, real deep thinking on your part if you really want to open that door.
Sure.
Because I've seen people that have opened it and they, it's like Ghostbusters in a way, Winston saying, I see things that'll make, that line that Winston says in the mayor's office. I mean, it's just like, woo, it's freaks some people out big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw my son actually track something.
Yeah.
Like, saw it and then followed his, like he was like looking up.
Yep.
Like he was, and it was crazy. It was at my mom's house in Port Clinton.
Wow.
And he just he just tracked it.
Yeah.
I always tell the story about my youngest daughter when I think she was about 3. She would wake up and not really like like, I want to say scared, but more like inquisitive about something she was seeing in her bedroom. She just described it as like a black, or I'm not a black, but like a bluish lighted, rotating like cloud in her room.
Okay.
I didn't know how to explain it at that time. I mean, I still don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we did what you said we all do as parents. I'm like, well, maybe you just woke up in the middle of a dream and it's just you're seeing what you were just dreaming. And now I kind of like, since I've been going more down that spiritual path, I kind of wish I didn't say that, I guess. But in the same way, I'm like, you try to protect your kids. I mean, you don't want them to limit themselves with their whatever spiritual path they decide to go on. But
correct.
At the same time, you're trying to protect and like trying to keep calm heads and have them be able to sleep comfortably. And it's weird. But I mean, for me, myself, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm quite at your level at all, but I've definitely noticed some like empathic growth since I've been investigating. And since I've like kind of let myself move away from constantly staring at the technical equipment and always going with what at K2 or whatever EMF meter we're using at that time is, but kind of feeling things out. I've gotten myself into some trouble a couple times.
Right.
Not realizing what I was feeling wasn't my own thoughts and my own emotions. And that kind of was a scary, very scary situation, which is something that I definitely need to work on. And I have wonderful friends like Kathy and some other people that, I'm close with that help, kind of work that out with me. But it's interesting. And that like going back to what we were talking about, is something we're born with. I would imagine, for me to be experiencing I'm 42 now. I mean, and I'm just maybe within the last 4 or 5 years have been noticing I can pick up on these energies. I can feel this stuff. I've tested myself with other people that I know are gifted like you. And I'm like, they won't tell me what they're feeling. They tell me there's a presence. I say, well, does he or she look like this? And they say, yeah. I mean, I'm nailing some things. Sure. Not everything.
Right.
But I mean, a lot of it too is like very, it's not even like, I think going back to one of our watchers, Jess, was talking about like how things come to people in different ways.
Yes.
I tend to pick up on scent, like smells.
Cool.
And just energy in and of itself, just walking into an area that feels energized. I've been able to walk into a place that has a lot of energy where there's no like EMF being caused naturally, like by like electricity or anything like that, like running electricity. But I'll walk into an area, I feel like, I don't know how you feel when you walk into that, but like the pressure in my head, the sinking feeling in my stomach, like nausea, like tremendous. And I've had people bring in their instruments and I'm like going crazy. So it's been a weird, crazy journey for me. And, it's something that I definitely want to very slowly explore. But like going back to what you said, you got to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Well, I got a lot to learn before I kind of get to that level. And
that's right. Because see, a lot of it is just being sensitive. And that's a nice, I like that term a lot, where people just can feel the energy. And it's pretty much we all are. Cause I think about it. I always tell the story. If we're all in a room, and let's just say we're all having our little conversations with people all over, but one person in the room looks at you.
Yeah.
What do? You're like, and you look, and then you're dead.
Yeah.
There's that little bit there is connection.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's just, you can feel it. You just don't know what until you have to go search it out.
Sure.
So being sensitive is totally cool. And I think a lot of that does happen for a lot of people. They do somehow open that door without knowing it, and where they at least feel the energy. What they're dealing with, who knows? You know what I mean? You don't know. Sometimes you can feel it. Sometimes like I've gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, this one's a little bit on the nasty side, or no, this one's not bad. We but at first when I was feeling it, it's like I felt the pressure. I knew there was something. What it was, not a clue. had no idea. But at least I knew that there's a possibility that maybe the gear will help us out and we'll identify what it is. So being sensitive can really still be useful, even if you can't see, hear, smell, feel, or know.
Right.
Right.
I had a really cool experience. I was taking a psychic tour with one of our friends. We were at a big fundraiser Paracon at St. Joseph's Hospital up in Lorraine before the unfortunate shutdown. But she was given a psychic tour, and we were on a certain floor, and there was this he was a doctor, but he was like head of the hospital back in the day, and he kept coming up because he was really focused on what we were doing, like why we were there, why we were invading his space, like these people are just walking around, and he was really getting up in the psychic's face, like, you guys need to move along, you got to get out of here. He was very unsettled with us being there. There were a couple of times where I felt like he was kind of like right on me. I was getting this pain in my ear, like how you do when something loud is being blasted in your ear. And I didn't know how to explain it, so I told her. She's like, because he's going to each and every one that he feels is listening to him, telling you to get out. You just don't understand the message yet.
Right.
You're not picking up on the message. And there was the same tour. We were up on a different floor. I just got this overwhelming smell of black licorice out of nowhere. And I'm looking around and I'm like, there's no chemicals up here. There's like, nobody just dropped a box of Good and Plenty on the floor. I was just like looking for it. And later on, actually, Barb told me to call it out. She's like, why do you think that you smell that? I'm like, I mean, the only thing I'm getting is maybe the supervisor like walked around with a box of like, he had some like blackjack gum or something, black licorice that he used to chew on. She's like, you're right. He literally has a box of Good and Plenty that he sticks in his pocket and just like throws in his mouth from time to time. And that's this very pungent smell. I mean, you guys know what black licorice smells like. You threw back you threw back.
I love it.
The only way I ever liked black licorice is when I was throwing back some Jaegers back in the day. But it's just crazy stuff. I mean, it's really interesting, and I'm trying to develop it slowly and carefully. And like I said, sometimes it's gotten the better of me, and I didn't realize it until I was at the point where I had to leave the building and like go grab a tree and hug it till that energy regenerated and cleansed out of my body. But
and that's the thing, is there's times like that. I mean, I've had it one time. I never say where it is just because I like to keep it a secret. But we were with the team and things like that, and that was the one time that I truly can say I was attacked. Like I've had spirits jumping on me and things like that, and I could feel it. But there was one time it was so bad that for the first time ever, I said, I actually got to go step away. And I remember stepping away, and that didn't help, because you do like the 3-foot rule where you move at least 3 feet, does it clear? It was still bad. And I left the room. I ended up going outside. And when I went outside, it was kind of like right now with our kind of screwy weather, it ended up being like upper 40s, low 50s. But I always wear short sleeve shirts when I'm in an investigation, kind of like to feel, if anything's, the arms or, hair standing up. But I was standing outside in high 40s and didn't even know it was cold because it was so profound of an attack that happened.
Right.
But that's the thing, is I hated that it happened, but I learned tremendous amount of information about it, because I found out, like, if I get to a certain point where I need to finally change the way I'm investigating, or I got to just go ahead and get out of there, and just not even deal with it. But sometimes you got to go through moments which suck like that.
Yeah.
So like for you, getting started, you're probably going to have a few of those that are just going to be like, but you kind of then remember that, because when you go into either go back to the same location or you go to a new one, you start to feel it. Well, now you can start thinking differently. How am I going to change this, or am I going to push something back? So that's sometimes it's good, but it's also risky too.
Sure.
You see, I got that feeling right now, that stomach drop. Kind of weird. They usually don't have it here, but I saw somebody say that they smelled like rose. I smelled something flowery here. Flowery here. you know, when I was walking back to the bedroom, and like Kate doesn't have anything like that, and it was a strong smell.
So I wasn't going to bring this up until after we were off air.
Yeah.
But I know we're running out of time. But Mike, like when we first started, did you feel anything behind your left shoulder?
I felt something on like just behind me.
Okay.
I am over here.
Oh yeah, you're over there now.
But when we went live, you had a female standing behind you, and I wasn't going to bring it up because I thought, well, I'll save it for it because I didn't know if we wanted to go down that path. But there was a female behind you.
Cool.
And that might make sense of why you're smelling something. But see, I literally was waiting until we hung up, and I was going to be banging away going, you know, I don't know if you felt anything behind you, but there was something going on. And I didn't see a whole lot. I just knew it was a female because I could see the silhouette of long hair. But I didn't explore. I didn't ask anything to get any information, but there was definitely a female behind you.
Yeah, because it's kind of weird. Like I have that stomach drop, but I also have heat coming up from it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, but it's underneath. You know, it's underneath. You can tell the difference.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's pretty cool. Like I felt something right at the beginning, kind of went away, and then now I'm feeling it again.
Okay.
Like just my stomach.
Well, you know, good old Mikey here, he has a tendency to bring home the older ladies. So,
yep. That's my demographic, old dead ladies. I do bring them home.
You know, sometimes if you got it and you got the looks, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but they actually moved a heater in my house. My wife was pregnant at the time, laying in the bedroom with all the animals. I think were pretty much there, and then all of a sudden she heard the heater move. It was like one of those space heaters you get from Walmart that had like the flames in it.
Yeah.
And all I heard was Michael, because I just came back from Madison, like that day, and our shower curtain always falls when they follow me home, so I kind of know. But yeah, that moved, and you know, so I sent it back, and you know, it was gone then. But yeah, 2 or 3 times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, have you ever had anything like serious? I mean, anything like oh crap, you know, like something's really like banging on the wall, kind of like now everybody's like, what is going on? You know?
No, just the heater and the shower curtain.
Okay.
That was about it.
Small.
Lincoln does. Yeah, my son does see a lot.
Okay. And how old is your son?
My wife is sensitive also.
And how old is your son?
So, yeah, he's one. He just turned 1.
Okay. So yeah, he's real early on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he does. He'll look in the corner, like you said, and laugh.
Okay.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, Kate's pretty in tune, very in tune as well.
Cool.
Her and I have heard disembodied voices when nobody else has. It's been kind of interesting. We did catch it on EVP at the same time, but you could hear us like in the playback saying to each other, "Did you hear that?" And everybody else is like, "What? Hear what?" And we played it back, and like, lo and behold, it was we heard a woman, you know, speaking out to us. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's always fun.
In the last few minutes, Adam, is there anything coming up project-wise or anything you're working on that you kind of want to promote here? And in the last few minutes, just give you the open mic there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, it's funny is, you know, there were some things that were, you know, in the works that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Of course, every guest we have.
Right.
Yep.
You know, it sucks too.
We've learned not to have guests on before they release whatever it is they're working.
Well, if they ever work out, I will let you know. But
for sure,
you know, I mean, and even then, it's just like, you know, if they work out, great. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's just always kind of fun little things. But you know, it's going to be staying active as far as the old mill goes. You know, I do speaking events, you know, in holistic fairs. So I mean, hopefully we'll start ramping up for those again.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how how we're all going to be if we come out of this at some point. Because like right now, I don't think I had technically anything. I mean, I had some investigations that I was going to be going to that obviously are canceled. But July, at the very end of July, I was going to be speaking for this will be the third year in a row. So up in Michigan, there's on the western side of the state, there's a place called Benton Harbor, Michigan.
Okay.
The park is called Eden Springs Park, and it's a lot of outdoor investigation, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And heavy Native American presence.
Oh wow.
I mean, like legit, like proven, without a doubt that natives were through there, because they have a lot of springs there.
Sure.
That you can still drink some of the actual spring water.
Oh wow.
So it's really cool. So it's really sacred place and stuff like that from the native side of things. But so if that works out, it'll be at the end of July. Cool. And I post things, when they pop up on my Medium page. But and then after that, I'm trying to think. There's a couple things that I have to wait for the promoter to put it up yet, because I don't like to say something until it's on their page first.
Yeah.
But there's another speaking event that I'll be with one of my other Medium friends. But that'll be later in the year, so that should probably work out. So once the promoter puts it up, then we'll be good, and then I'll announce it. But and then our old mill Parafest in November. If it works out, it'll be the second Saturday of November. I think it's like the 11th or something like that, or something like that. But I don't have the calendar in front of me. But yeah, usually it's most of the time it's either the first or second weekend, but I think it's the second weekend. But we got to plan it out. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to get to some other locations this year.
Cool.
Obviously, I think like we all are. But
yeah.
There's a few things, and then obviously some secret things that I'm kind of hoping that'll work out if things work out, get going again. But you never know. But yeah, that probably covers it. But like I said, I try to keep things up on my Facebook page. I don't have a website yet because I just been trying to make sure that I'm really set on things. And then
websites are cool, but they're such a pain in the ass to maintain and keep updated, and
yeah,
just to keep. I mean, with all your information and just. Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
and Facebook works, and and I try to do it if I can. I'll do a live. I try to make it a point to do it once a month, where I do what I call rapid fire readings, where I give you like a message or two.
Okay.
And so I did one maybe 3 weeks ago, and then I did a meditation concert 2 weekends ago. On the same page. So if you guys want to just check that out, those are always fun. The meditation one is awesome because I'm playing the Native American flute. So if you really want to chill, that's nice. I keep getting comments from
you. Don't happen to having the old flute sitting around next to you, do you?
I actually have a plastic one next to me, which is still pretty good.
Nice.
But I was going to use it one time on another show that I was on, but it didn't work out. But I can whip something up.
Yeah.
Play us out.
I can do that.
Play us out.
Awesome. A lot of people enjoying the show tonight, Adam. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great talking to you guys, and
you too.
It's I think this is what we need. We need to keep talking to each other, and even if it's just quick messages and things like that. But it's fun to just be able to. Hey, how's it going? How you doing today?
Exactly.
Little things go a long way, especially right now.
Oh yeah, especially right now. I mean, that you can say what you want about the downfall of and the horrible the negativity behind social media, but things like this and a time like this they're so nice to have.
Right. Yep.
So everybody, thank you for watching the show tonight. We're gonna just sit back and listen to Adam as we play out the last 2 minutes. Thank you for watching. Please stay healthy, be safe. Follow the mandates by your legislation. Just be careful, please. Let's beat this thing and get back to our normal lives. Okay. Love you guys. We will spook you later. Mike, love you. Adam, thank you for being on.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Nice.
Thank you very much, man. That was beautiful.
Very relaxed.
Peace be with everybody. We love you. Stay happy and healthy, and we will see you next week on the Cryptic Paranormal Show. Have a good night, everybody.
Just have a good night.
Right.
Bye.
Mhm.